We all know we need to be wary of strangers, but when your friends turn on you, that's an extra kind of terrifying. Mary Collins thought she was meeting up with some friends for sushi, but the dinner invitation was actually a trap. By the end of the night, the 20-year-old's body was wrapped in duct tape and hidden in the bedroom mattress. If none of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Mary's case should have made national news, but early COVID lockdowns overshadowed her heartbreaking story. Let me catch you up. Welcome to True Crime Recaps. I'm Chris. COVID drove us all a little mad, right? Remember the early days when we were all afraid to leave the house? Sadly, for 20-year-old Mary Collins, this wild time in American history was the last she'd ever experience. She went missing in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 28, 2020, the same day COVID lockdowns closed the state. 24 hours came and went. Mary's grandmother and legal guardian, Mia Alderman, began to worry. She hadn't heard from Mary, who wasn't answering her phone. The next day, Mary's friends posted a video of them getting sushi, Mary's favorite food. Mia's granddaughter was in the photo. She seemed okay. Why wasn't she answering her phone? Mia tracked Mary's phone to an apartment in North Davidson, known locally as NODA. It's a historic arts district about a mile outside the city center. When she arrived, she found two of Mary's friends, Kelly Lavery and Lavi Pham. Mary and Lavi had dated briefly, but he was with Kelly now. Neither had seen or heard from Mary after their sushi date. That was strange. Mary's cell phone last pinged in their apartment. Mia looked high and low, but there was no sign of Mary. She remembers the apartment smelling like dish soap and pumpkin spice. The smell was overpowering. Mia left and filed a police report that night. On April 2nd, a witness came forward with a sickening story. She was talking with her friend Jimmy Salerno, and Mary's case came up. As the story goes, Jimmy was at a party with Mary, Kelly, and Lavi at the NODA apartment. They tied her up and forced her into the bathtub where they proceeded to beat her relentlessly. That's when one of them drew a knife and stabbed Mary to death. From there, they bound Mary's body in duct tape and wrapped her in plastic trash bags. Then, they opened the side of their mattress and stuffed the body inside. Lavi and Kelly planned on burning the mattress to dispose of the evidence. Detectives from the Missing Persons Division pounded on the NODA door. Lavi answered and gave them permission to search the house. Now, even though Lavi gave them permission, there are limits on what police can search without a written warrant. In the movies, when cops execute a search warrant, we see them ripping out drawers and cutting open pillows. They'll leave the house looking like a tornado passed through in search of evidence. This was different. This was a consent search. If Lavi said, "Don't look in there" or "Don't open that," the police had to respect him. That meant they couldn't open the mattress. They could only lift it up. When they did, there was no sign of Mary's body. The cops left. Kelly and Lavi were free for one more day. On April 4th, a second witness told a similar story. Both were adamant that Mary's body was in the mattress. The cops had to go and look again. This time, they went in with a search warrant and beelined to the bedroom. They opened the mattress and sure enough, they found a bloody makeshift body bag. Mary was only 20 years old when her life abruptly ended. Her former teachers described her as innocent. Her friends and family used words like lovely, gracious, and kind. She was a sweet yet vulnerable girl, someone who was very quick to trust. Her Aunt Kara said there was a special kind of light about Mary. She was silly and loving. Kara didn't understand why someone would do this to her niece. The rest of Charlotte asked the same question. Mary lived with a rare genetic disorder commonly known as DeGeorge syndrome. DeGeorge is the second most common genetic disorder behind Down syndrome. According to the Mayo Clinic, those with DeGeorge syndrome have several medical symptoms, including poor immune function and heart defects. They may have a cleft palate, difficulty eating, and clear learning disabilities. According to Mary's family, she had the mental capacity of a 15-year-old girl. She struggled with basic tasks like getting around her neighborhood and counting change, and she had a severe speech impediment. Yet, through it all, Mary always saw the best in people. Mary wrongfully assumed everyone was as sweet and innocent as her. She never saw the demons lurking right around the corner. We know Mary and Lavi used to date, though the extent of her relationship with Kelly is unclear. According to Aunt Kara, Kelly used to post cruel things about Mary on Facebook. She described Kelly as the jealous mean girl type. She was an online bully who'd been going after Mary for months. In one comment, Kelly wrote, "Ew, nobody would want you, and if I were you, I would want to disappear as soon as possible. Now, that proved to be an extremely hypocritical statement. Text messages between the trio before Mary's death show that Kelly and Lavy wanted Mary to have a threesome. She refused, which apparently got the murder gears churning. Though she was a pretty young girl, Mary struggled with self-image. Mia said she was always self-conscious. She'd do anything just to have friends. And even though Kelly was a bully, Mary saw the best in her. She thought they were friends. Around 2:30 in the afternoon on March 28th, Mary got into an Uber heading to Kelly and Lavy's apartment. Mary never learned how to drive, so Kelly sent the Uber to go grab her. Jimmy Salerno was already there when Mary arrived. They started drinking, and one of them slipped Xanax into Mary's drink. Once Mary was out of it, the trio forced her into the bathtub. They beat and stabbed her until she bled to death. According to Mary's autopsy, she had 133 stab wounds across her entire body, and we can't say for sure how many she suffered through until one ultimately killed her. But because of her speech impediment, she likely couldn't scream or yell loudly enough for anyone to hear. When the attack was finally over, the trio needed help cleaning and hiding Mary's body. So Jimmy hopped on Tinder and messaged one of his recent matches. An 18-year-old girl named America Deal allegedly rushed over to help them prepare Mary's body. Now, there's a reason we're using the word prepare. First, they tied a black shirt and socks around Mary's neck. Then they tied a red shirt around Mary's right ankle. The way it's described in the autopsy, they may have used these makeshift ties to move Mary's body without touching it. Next, they placed her lower half in a black trash bag. Then they literally mummified her in duct tape, wrapping the entire body from head to toe. Our killers allegedly doused Mary's body in dish detergent and pumpkin spice shower gel to hide the smell. Then they wrapped her in 2 more black trash bags and stuffed her into the mattress. The next day, Lavy posted a social media video showing him, Kelly, and Mary getting sushi. Her loved ones assumed Mary was still alive and spent the first lockdown day with her friends. Little did they know she was already dead. Kelly, Lavy, and Jimmy were promptly arrested on April 5th. Kelly was unresponsive when police kicked in the door in Noda. She was so drugged out they had to wake her up to formally arrest her. Jimmy was arrested at his home near the University of North Carolina. When police searched his phone, they found notes written for bleach and dish detergent. His phone records also place him in the Noda apartment when Mary was killed. One suspect was still missing. America Deal fled to Colorado and remained on the lam until June 2nd. Colorado police eventually caught up with her and shipped her back to Charlotte for trial. America's lawyers argued that she was forced to hide Mary's body. She identified Kelly as the ringleader who barked orders at everyone else. Some clever legal work got her out on a $100,000 bond. Lavy Pham pleaded not guilty and is still awaiting trial as of 2023. In April 2022, Kelly Lavery pled guilty to second-degree murder. She'll spend the next 25 to 32 years in prison. Jimmy Salerno also pleaded not guilty. He spent 3 years in jail before receiving a $250,000 bond in January 2023. Recent news suggests he's still in prison, unable to raise the $250,000. While speaking at Jimmy's bond hearing, Mary's grandmother spoke very bluntly. They bled her out in the bathtub like an animal. What Jimmy's done is one of the most depraved cases Charlotte has ever seen. To Mary's grandmother, Jimmy's bond was a slap in the face. Kelly's plea deal wasn't enough, and the fact that America still walks around a free woman sends shivers down her spine. As for Lavy, Mary's grandmother is likely losing hope the legal system will work in her favor.
And that's your recap.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
If you like getting all the crime in half the time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story.
We're here Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but don't go away. Catch up on more recaps right here, right now.
Until next time, take care.